Okay, good afternoon everybody. My name is Anita Mitchell. I'm presenting this afternoon with my two colleagues, Alex Box and Nicole Barnes from Rangeview Primary School. I actually work for International Needs Australia, which is a Christian development organisation. But we are working, our aim is to create a just world where girls and boys, men and women are treated equally with dignity and respect to reach their full potential. International Needs Australia works in 8 countries around the world. We work in Ghana, Uganda and Ethiopia, Nepal, India, Sri Lanka, Myanmar and the Philippines. Broadly, our projects focus in 3 areas: education and child rights, women's empowerment and health and hygiene. INA is an international development agency, and that means that we work in partnership with local communities, providing training, capacity building and funding with the ultimate aim of helping communities to develop sustainable projects that continue once we are gone. About 6 years ago, INA developed a primary school global education program called Just Like Me, initially comprising a teacher's resource book and 3 videos showing a day in the life of a child in Ghana, Uganda and India. These were designed to fit into the Australian primary school curriculum. This was followed with the opportunity to develop a primary school incursion program, and we've been holding workshops in schools around Melbourne for the last 4 years. I think I've visited, at last count, over 85 different primary schools, and we've had about 12,000 children participate in our workshops. Last year, we reached a new stage. We decided that we actually needed to take that learning further. We need to give students an opportunity to do something, to put their learning into action. And we developed a campaign called Just One Day. The beauty of the Just One Day campaign and the related resources that it connects to is that it actually all connects beautifully with the Victorian primary school curriculum, especially with geography, civics and citizenship, and the general capabilities. And I'm sure that you all know that next year we are mandated to teach specifically intercultural understanding, ethical capabilities, and creative thinking. Engaging with the Just Like Me resources and participation in Just One Day enables all that to happen.
Did you know that globally,
58 million children are not receiving primary school education?
So that's why, for Just One Day, our family
And students from my school
are eating simply,
using water thoughtfully
and turning off screens
to experience difference and raise money
to keep poor kids in developing countries in school. So if you're a parent, a teacher or a primary age student, please sign up at www.justoneday.org.au.
And now I'd like to hand you over to the two who you really want to listen to Alex and Nicole. Thanks, ladies.
Rangeview Primary School is a new Pedagogies for deep learning school led by Michael Fullen. So slowly over the last 2 years we've been introducing the 21st century skills, being collaboration, communication, character, critical thinking, creativity, and for this year we wanted to introduce citizenship. As an NPDL school, we aim to foster the 21st century skills, developing learning partnerships that are more than just between teachers, students and parents, but with experts, global partnerships and partnerships with the wider community. We aim to foster a highly engaging and motivating learning environment, and we hope that learning does not just stop at our school. Leveraging digital is also very important. We embed digital technologies throughout our learning to accelerate learning. So when it came to citizenship, we stumbled with this one. How do our students solve ambiguous problems? How do we get our students to think like a global citizen and to consider global issues? How can we get the whole school involved in a global issue that would interest foundation students right up to grade 6? global poverty is a global problem and all citizens should be taking action. Just One Day enabled our students to live a day in the shoes of a child and enabled our students to live to understand what it's like to live in a developing country and created awareness and empathy for how others live on a daily basis. So when the pack came, we just happened to receive a pack in the mail from Just One Day, and it really suited our purpose. We knew that we could teach global citizenship. Sorry, I just saw Ian. We knew that we could teach global citizenship through Just One Day.
Today we're excited about Just One Day. Globally, there are 58 million children who do not have access to basic primary school education. This is not acceptable. So we are raising money for International Needs Australia so children living in poverty can go to school.
Just One Day has been a really great opportunity for our students to learn to live in someone else's shoes. We wanted our students to be 21st century learners and to be global citizens. And that meant that they would have to understand global, worldwide problems. And developing countries and global poverty is a global problem.
So on the Just One Day school day that we had, the children ate simply, from just rice to a potato soup. We turned off electricity, we didn't use any electronic devices, we were digital technology free for a day. We used water thoughtfully. We had students bring in some laundry and they needed to be thoughtful with water as they did it.
My mum used to always say, be grateful for what you have because some others don't have what you have, and I used to never really think about that, but now that I've learnt about Just One Day, I have really noticed that I really should be grateful and respectful.
Well, the Just One Day program provided us with a whole lot of resources around global poverty that have been designed specifically for primary age students. We've been trying to integrate learning areas English and maths and come up with more authentic, meaningful projects, but with Just One Day everything happened so easily that we didn't even really have to think very hard. I felt like I was more on a learning journey with the children and that they were driving the learning more because they were so interested and engaged, and because they felt so empowered that they could make a difference. The engagement of the topic and the power that they felt, the empowerment that they felt to make a difference, really drove the learning, which for me, that's what I've been looking for many years, is for students to be driving the learning, and this unit's just kind of hit the nail on the head for me.
The connection between International Needs Australia and the passion from our staff and what it facilitated in their teaching. It was wonderful to see how passionate they did become about it, and I think that that was quite remarkable, and for many of them it's changed their lives, as in then changing the lives, I believe, of many of our students.
When we first started learning about Just One Day, I didn't know much about it and I thought they were living a simple life like us, but when I actually discovered all these things, it really struck me that it's not a simple life over there.
They do have those aha moments when they realise how difficult life is, or how they realise that not all girls get an education, or they realise that if they only had clean water, perhaps their lives would be different. Simple things that we take for granted.
The fundraising that we were going to make a difference was going to be that kind of celebration of our learning. You know, look at this, we've done all this learning and look, we've made a difference, and we know where that money's going to go because we've studied and we know the difference that it's going to make.
So we did take this project on as a whole school, and what we had in common across the school, so the whole school markers would have been the workshops, the Just Like Me workshops provided by Anita. Then later on in the term we had the Just One Day where we lived simply for a day at school, which you saw a snapshot of in the video. And then later on, after a whole lot more learning had been done and different learning journeys across the school, we came together with a celebratory assembly where students from each year level shared some of their big discoveries and special projects. At a level, and Nicole and I both teach grade 4, we were working together to try and reimagine the way that we deliver the curriculum across the board, so English, Maths, Science, Digitech, the whole lot through this unit. And we're both students of the New Pedagogies project. One of the PDs that we were lucky enough to attend in the last couple of years was Lane Clark, who is a global leader in education. She's from Canada, and she really works hard to find relevance for her students in their learning. So we've taken a lot of her processes and strategies as a teacher, and we're trialling them. We've been trialling them, and we've had some really exciting results. In this unit, the children kept a learning journal where they would record their discoveries. So at the end of a discovery session, whether it be through the media provided by the Just Like Me and Just One Day websites or other resources, whether it was a workshop day, at the end of a learning session, they'd record their big aha moments, their wonderings, their feelings, how the way that they're seeing the world had changed. And this is just a bit of a snapshot of some of those really profound discoveries. One which was quoted by Just One Day in social media, which was really exciting for that student that her words were being quoted.
Once the workshops were over, we didn't want the learning to end. It was such a rich and deep unit, we knew we could get more out of it. The unit, Just One Day, offered our students to practice their global citizenship and to see the big differences in the world and how we live and how others live. Our students had a passion to help solve this global problem, and they had a hunger for knowledge. And as educators, we needed to tap into this and find a way for the curriculum to suit our needs. Tasks and research were created to foster collaboration and allow students to work at their own pace and reflect on their learning. This project enables students to understand how extreme weather contributes to global poverty, creating and constructing shelter boxes for those in need. One of the reasons why we developed this unit was because our students were really struck with the fact that more people die from extreme weather and natural disasters in developing countries than in developed nations. This was a massive aha moment for them, and it took their learning to a big so what? What can we do with this knowledge? So from that interest and from that passion, we developed this unit where children created shelter boxes. They investigated extreme weather, they looked at natural disasters, and they created these shelter boxes with items that would help children and families in need. We've been really working hard at how to document our planning. We also needed to develop a way to document how 21st century skills and the core curriculum supported one another and fostered learning. So we very rarely teach the core curriculum in isolation. And that's the same with 21st century skills. They really do complement each other well, and sometimes it's just a matter of tweaking what you do to foster many of those 21st century skills. For example, creating opportunities for reflections and for learning goals fosters character. Enabling students to develop decision-making, negotiating and sharing skills fosters collaboration. We also encourage critical thinking by getting students to learn to code how natural disasters occur. So coding is a big part of the digital curriculum, but we didn't want coding to only be about games. We wanted children to develop a way to use coding to show information and to share their knowledge. And so from coding we use Hopscotch, but quite easily you can use Scratch Junior or Scratch or any other coding program. They then developed ways to show their knowledge of how natural disasters occur and the impact it creates on communities. Within a week or two into each project that we develop with the students, we also get students to help us develop rubrics for their assessment. And while that's a big part of the assessment, we do this for a few reasons. We want children to challenge themselves. And whilst they're challenging themselves, we're also fostering that skill of character, because they're looking at these rubrics that they've created and they're working out where they sit, what they've done with their work, and they need to work on what they need to do next in order to achieve a higher level. It creates a voice with their assessment, so they know exactly what they're meant to be doing. I had some children that had created a shelter box, which was just a cube, and they were really happy with their cube. They had worked on their net, they had made their cube, they were even starting to reinforce it. And then after the rubric was created, they realised that a cube was only a 2-star shape. And they didn't want a 2-star shape, they wanted a 3-star shape. So then I heard them talking and they decided that they wanted to do a octagonal prism. And off they went, they researched it and they made one. So they weren't happy with just a 2-star shape, they challenged themselves to create a 3-star shape.
So Step Inside is a visible thinking strategy which really lent itself to this unit. It's talked about globally as an important strategy to start bringing in regular practice because we want to develop empathy in our students. So we embedded this strategy in our discussions when we would watch the Just Like Me videos. In fact, our writing moderation piece at this point in the year, we decided to link it to the topic. The children had already learned a lot, they had a lot of background knowledge, they were halfway through several projects related to the topic, and so we watched one of the Just Like Me videos, and they needed to pick a character that they could step inside. They'd think about it from the point of view of the 5 senses, and they wrote from that perspective, and it really became a new text type for us in our level, and one that since then the children make choices about whether they would like to step inside other people or objects, depending on the topic. But at the time, the writing was really impressive. The children wrote really poignantly from different perspectives, and it really demonstrated their understanding of the topic, as well as to be able to use that strategy of thinking from someone else's perspective. It was challenging for some. It's a highly transferable skill that we started noticing it's being used in the world once we started studying it in marketing and all sorts of things. And it's become an enjoyable and powerful writing option for the students. And Nicole's actually got a story about one of her students.
So a child in my grade has got learning difficulties and rarely will he put pen to paper unless he's writing about a science topic. So, but from the whole experience, from Just One Day, from the workshops, from the videos, from all the classwork, we assess the children mid-year for their report writing on a Step Inside strategy, and we watched one of the videos from Just One Day, and the children had to write using all the knowledge that they had gained. And I'll just finish off, I'll just read a part of his writing. So within his writing, he spoke about how he gets up in the morning and how he has to collect water and his bones are hurting and his arms are hurting because it was heavy and he had to walk an hour and a half, and talks about how he had very little to eat. And then the last paragraph is, I don't go to school because my parents are too poor. I really want to go to school. When I turned 5, we did not have enough money. I hope Rangeview's Just One Day can change that for me. So he included all his knowledge, including the fundraising, into his Step Inside writing, which was really powerful to show how much he had learned.
All right, we know that children learn more effectively when they're applying their knowledge and skills, and so we're very project and challenge based. This was one of the projects that the kids involved were engaged in, and it was sparked by the reading of this book, If the World Were a Village. And it's a book full of really big discoveries on the topic, and it's a book that really altered the children's view. So, for example, finding out that if the world were a village of 100 people, that 17 of those 100 are severely undernourished and always hungry. It opened up the discussion about, what is it really to be hungry, and our students were developing their global perspective through these discussions. because the book was about if the world were 100, and it gave lots of different perspectives with that number. So, you know, finding out that 1 in the 100 are in the Oceania region and that we're only part of that region gave that global perspective of how big the world is and how small our part is in that, and how lucky we are to be in a nation with so much. So with the data in the book, we were able to co-plan a project. We've been looking at the infographics that are provided by the Just One Day program, and that sparked the idea in the children that, oh, maybe they could make their an infographic about something, and then this book came along and that project was born. We covered maths elements, graphing, presenting data, interpreting data, and the children needed to create pie graphs, and it was a challenging task, really hands-on. We started with a challenging task of creating a pie graph with a 100-centimetre perimeter, and the children were problem solving and helping each other and collaborating on how that could happen. You know, we very much teach with questions rather than, you know, this is what we need to do. So this was a project that allowed that sort of critical thinking and problem solving, and at the end the children had something to show for their learning and study in maths and the learning that came from that book. So our students' global view had significantly altered throughout the unit, and they could see how well equipped an education they have and the associated responsibility that comes about from that. And the children felt really empowered. They knew that they had, you know, a whole lot of resources. They had their iPad, they had the opportunity at school that we were providing them to make a difference. And part of our, one of our discoveries was that we had a child actually in Nicole's class whose parents were friends with a local couple who had actually gone to Uganda, Mbale, and they founded a school there and set up a school. So we were able to, with the help of our AP, Ian, set up some Skype sessions and get our kids connected with children living in Uganda who were fortunate enough to go to school, and really hear from them about what their experience was. We found out that they really loved school, that they didn't look forward to the holidays, that they wanted to come to school, they were better fed at school, that they loved learning, and that they were learning English. And so our children, on reflection, you know, the post-Skype call discussion, what did we find out, what really struck you, what can we do with this, so, you know, we don't want to leave this there, like what can we do? We really felt connected to these kids. And it was a co-planned project with the children. One of the children in my class suggested that, oh, maybe we could write them letters, and another student suggested, oh, maybe we could write them stories and help them practice their English. And so the project Stories for Uganda was born from that, and we covered part of our English curriculum, you know, narrative writing, looking at picture storybooks, understanding them, what makes a quality story. And the children worked really hard on that project because they knew that they had an authentic audience and that it would make a difference because resources were so scarce in this school, and they were still building up their resources, and they were relying on donations. So yeah, the storybooks are nearly done, they're fantastic, and we're almost ready to send them over, which is really exciting. The Market Fundraiser was another initiative in our level. We wanted to provide the children an opportunity to do something really hands-on, an event. We've been inspired by another primary school, Canterbury Primary, where children are organisers and writers of events such as productions and things like that. And so we wanted to say, you know what, we're going to give you the opportunity, let's share ideas. Children did. Some kids wanted to run a fun run, others wanted to do, you know, a market, others wanted to create stories and sell them, but we sort of already covered that with our story writing thing, and we talked about what would be something that we could all get involved in across the level that would open up to the whole school community to be a part of. So, you know, fun run maybe not everyone is in a condition to be able to run, or maybe not everyone would want to take part. And so the idea of a market where we could have lots of different stalls offering different things came about, and the children were happy with that. the kids that love art and craft were just in their element with this, churning out magnets and mini notebooks and all sorts of things. They needed to work in groups, they had to talk things through, they had a whole set of problems to solve, you know, who do we need to speak to about getting approval, where are we going to do it, when are we going to do it, how long have we got, how on earth are we going to meet our deadline. So it was a really great chance for the children to collaborate. And as a result, they raised over $700 for the cause, so you know, it was really exciting for the children and their families.
This is an opportunity for your students to learn through engaging with a real global issue. It's an opportunity for your students to be the global citizens that we want them to be. We don't have to wait for our kids to grow up for them to actually make a difference in the world. Thank you very much for your attention. As I said, if you have any questions for any of us, please don't hesitate to come and talk to us. Thank you.